Molly Bradford here with Genevieve from Garden City Harvest, and we're going to talk about one of the techniques that I use for storing my carrots from my winter share. And today what we're going to do is give them a blanch and vacuum seal them. If you watched any of the video that we did on general food storage, I just pulled the carrots out of the sawdust. They were packed in damp sawdust, and you can probably find that video on the Facebook group or Garden City Harvest. So I just give my carrots a really good wash, and I pick apart any of the bizarro legs that are on there. And I used to peel the carrots, but I don't peel them anymore. I just give them a good wash. And then I just cut the carrots into coins. If they get really big like this and they have roots, I just sort of peel those off. And then sometimes when they're this big, I do cut them in half, because if I'm gonna give them a blanch, I want them to be roughly the same size. I could also, quarter these once more. So I'll go ahead and do this with the rest of my carrots, and then we will give them a quick blanch here in just a second. Okay, I should have pointed out a couple things I do before I get started. I like to use my double boiler, and it's boiling. And I just turned it down a little bit. I'll crank it back up right when I put the carrots in. I also set up an ice bath over here, because after they are boiled, I have to shock them. So if you want to come see the ice bath, I dumped a bunch of ice into here. And I'm going to fill this up with cold water right now. And after I drain the carrots, I'll slam them into here and swirl them around to shock them and stop them from cooking. And so if you need a lot of ice on hand, just buy a bag of ice. That's what I used to do. For the first time in my life, I have an ice maker in my refrigerator. 44, I have an ice maker. That's silly. Makes me excited, but I've always just bought a bag of ice. And actually, normally, if I was doing this, I would buy a bag of ice anyway, because you need quite a bit of ice when you're doing multiple batches. But we're just gonna do one batch today, so didn't need that much. Okay, so the carrots are ready to put in, and Genevieve and I just looked up the time on the Google machine because I couldn't remember. And for a whole carrot, it said 5 minutes, but for sliced carrots, it said 2, right?
Yep.
So, put the carrots in. Careful that the splash doesn't burn your skin.
And you don't have to have a double boiler to do this.
Not at all.
You could
just boil them in a pot. And you could have a small little saucepan. You don't have to have a big pan either. You could just be doing a little batch because you want to take them camping or something. Now, so I'm going to crank this up a little bit and put the lid on, and then once they come up to boil, then I'm going to do 2 minutes from there. So these then, obviously, since they've been blanched, they're never going to be crispy. So these are more, you could slice them finely though and probably put them on a salad if you wanted, but they're more now stew, soup, pizza, mash, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, I like to make, carrot ginger soup or put them in beef stew or elk stew or something like that. So these will boil for a couple minutes, and then we'll go to the ice bath. Okay. So if I was doing a lot of batches, I would get this back on the burner as fast as possible, because I would just keep doing batch after batch after batch. So dumping these in here. Careful, because it's a little hot. Now, the reason I had some ice in the colander is because like the carrots are melting it. So I just let them sit in there. I'll start to pull the ice out. This is, like, this didn't melt very much, right? And normally I do a slightly larger batch of carrots in the bin. And this ice would probably have lasted through 5 rounds, maybe, or a little bit more. Okay, so I'm pulling the ice out. Normally, if it's a little bit more carrots, it would have just melted all of it. These feel mostly cool. Just gonna give them. I put like a bigger one in my hand. I don't want it to feel warm at all. I want it to be done cooking. Totally done cooking. It's actually easier to pull the ice out.
Excuse me.
No problem. Okay, so that feels nice and if you don't have a colander, don't sweat it. Just dump them right in the cold water. Sometimes I just scrub my sink out and fill my sink with the ice water.
Oh yeah.
And then you can just pull the carrots out with your hand. Don't get hung up on equipment. It's totally not worth it. Just do it. Be bold. Okay, so then I have a towel here, a clean towel. I do a similar technique with kale, like winter greens. And then after they've been blanched, and it's a slightly different time, so look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head. And then I do them in the salad spinner just to get all the moisture out. And then I also vacuum seal them. So this is how I dry my carrots.
Nice.
It's my scientific carrot drying technique. Give them a little twist. And the reason I'm doing that is if there's a lot of excess moisture, even when I vacuum seal it, I don't want those ice crystals in the freezer, in the bag. Okay, so my vacuum sealer, sometimes I buy the pre-cut bags and sometimes I make my own. This is a pre-cut bag we're going to use today. Don't sweat it if you don't have a vacuum sealer. You can use a Ziploc bag. And then I just take a straw from like a water bottle and zip the bag most of the way closed and just have the straw there, and then I'm like, and I suck all the air out and then pull the straw out and zip the last little bit of it.
Nice.
It doesn't always work perfectly. It's not a big deal.
Okay. I'm gonna take a quick shot of your dog, Cinder, who's just so cute right now.
Yeah, there's probably dog hair in my carrots. Okay, vacuum sealers are super fun. I asked for mine for Christmas, like 10 years ago. So it lasts. This bag's a little bit big. This is going to be a slightly wasteful vacuum seal. However, what I will say is, when I slice it, I slice as close to the seal as I can, and I wash my bags out, and I use them over and over and over. Like, they just get sealed down and sealed down and sealed down, so I'm not going to beat myself up about this. Close it. Mine has a few choices. Do I want it to be on high speed, normal speed, and do I want it to be moist or dry? These are dry, obviously, whereas when I do fruit, it's moist, so it's on dry. We can do a normal, and we'll do vacuum plus seal. This makes me so happy. So now it's sealing.
Oh, it's still working?
Yeah, it's on
so it's sealing the top.
Now it's sealing the top. So then I'll release it. And now I'm all sealed up.
Wow.
So I'll grab my Sharpie, and I don't worry about where the line is. I usually write it on the flap. I'll just put carrots, 10/19, throw them in my freezer.
Cool.
Done.
Wow.
Have fun. That's true. It's like onion, carrot, celery, but From the winter share, you get celeriac, celery root. So I often make my mirepoix with celery root in lieu of celery. That's really good. And you could actually do that too. You could saute a bunch of mirepoix and let it cool off. So it just sauteed onions, celery or celery root and carrots. And then you can freeze that in little jars or in little vacuum sealed containers, or if you had a Ziploc bag, I use a straw and like suck all the air out of the Ziploc bag. And I do that same technique, that sort of butter blanching. I think I wrote a piece for the blog like a million years ago with morels. Like I'll saute them with butter and maybe garlic and stuff, and then I'll cool it off, and then I'll freeze that. And then in the middle of winter, I'll just grab that and thaw it out and add it to meat or soup or whatever.